Good Sunday morning, everybody. Good Sunday morning. Welcome to Sunday with Spirit. For the people joining for the first time, this is not a political poll. This is a spiritual poll. Every Sunday, a group of us get together and we play on the web of creation, the universal web of creation. And it doesn't matter if you're watching this on a different day, different week, whatever time you're watching. The energy is still open. So today, what I wanted to look at is how we set up our ceremonial altars. And this could be for anything. Oh, by the way, happy Rosh Hashanah, which I Googled and found out that it is the birthday for the universe. Wow. Okay. How do we set our altars up for an important event, for a ceremony? For example, how do we have a birthday party for the universe? What do we do to set that up? What do we do to set up a ceremony for the new moon that just happened, or the full moon that's coming up, or the solstice, equinoxes, something important? What do we do? What do we do for a reading? Now, for example, excuse me, for example, when we're just throwing cards, do we just pick up the deck and throw cards? Or do we actually have a ritual that we go through? Light some sage, drink some water, take a couple of deep breaths, ask our guides and angels to be with us, only of the light. What other things do we do? Is it fast? Is it slow? So I wanted to look at setting the altar. And the cards that I'm using today are Beyond Lemuria, the Enchanted Map, and the Sacred Path. And I've set my altar and I've rearranged it so that you can see it from a different point of view, because the other view was, well, that's always the way I did it, so let's change it up a little bit. This was more intentional, a lot more intentional than other Sunday shows or other just tarot readings. So I have my earth here with the sand dollars. Inside these sand dollars have doves of peace in it. And I love finding these sand dollars on the beach. There's a lot of them, but they never cease to give me that feeling of happiness. I have my Lemurian quartz crystal. That's so I can be smart. So I have a lot of Lemurian knowledge coming through. I have my psychic duck to remind me the knowledge you get, sometimes it should be treated a little lighter than always so heavy, heavy, heavy. And then I have my gifted feathers, the chakra feather and the painted wolf feather. So the overall card that I got for this reading was Sacred Path. And it's War Bonnet. Advance. And not reading this traditionally. Well, if I did read this traditionally, It would be about, so much of it would be about the feathers that go into the war bonnet. How do you get the feathers? What do the eagle feathers mean? The tail feather versus the flight feather versus, and it'll go into great detail of what is in that bonnet. And each feather represents a uniqueness, a strength, an awareness, a knowledge, a medicine. So I was kind of blown away from that because of the gifted feathers that I got. In the war bonnet, a lot of synchronicities popping up. It's important to listen to the synchronicities that we are being faced with. I mean, we don't live our lives with the synchronicities, but we certainly pay attention to them. They're certainly giving us some kind of advice. And at the base of this card, it's advance. So I think about this card, and I think about setting the altar. And when I set an altar for a new moon ceremony with my intentions, with what I want from that energy, I imagine myself that I have a council, a meeting with the chief. I have a one-on-one, oh, this gives me chills. I have a one-on-one meeting with the person that wears the war bonnet. Whew, big. So I've never been. I can only imagine in my mind's eye. Going into that space, it feels like it would take my breath away. So how do I prepare to go into that energy and listen to the advice that's being given, verbally, non-verbally? And so I came up with these 3 cards. This would be sort of getting ready, just getting my mind ready for this, setting an altar, and then this column is receiving the advice. How do I receive? What is it? How do I do it? How do I take it in? So somebody just comes up to me and says, hey, you're going to get a reading. Hey, you're going to go see the chief. Oof. I'm like, oh, get all scared. So what do I do? What's the first step? Besides, okay, we have a couple of things that we can do. For me, it's getting quiet, bringing in my guides and angels, bringing my team in close to me, being only in the light. Water is another great, great cleanser. I always like to have water before and after. Even if it's just around, I'd like to have it on my table. So, and then breathing, getting into that space with breathing, the heart space, letting go of the thoughts of the day, of the world. Okay. And you guys can leave your comments on what you do, your prep work. It's all something different to get into that quiet space, and it's all valid. It all works out. Moonlight. Moonlight. All right. So what was the first thing that you got when that card got flipped over? And your interpretations are just as important, if not more important, than what I get. So when I flipped over this Moonlight, it I felt in awe. And when I see a moon that big, I'm like, oh my gosh, it almost takes your breath away. It's almost like, wow. Like when someone says you're going to go meet the chief. What? Takes your breath away. I would imagine. Anyway, so being in awe of what is transforming. Moonlight also is very feminine energy, cyclical energy, but it's also this magical innocence in this card with this fairy. The other thing that I look at with this card, there's an owl up here flying, looking at you. At least I think it's an owl. But this also looks like it's the earth, because it looks like it has a cloud on it. It looks like it may have like a strong storm, like a hurricane. So as we prepare for an important metaphysical event, just leave it like that, to receive information from a higher source, things may not all be as clear as we think they are. We think we're standing on the earth looking at the moon, but the reality is we're standing on the moon looking at the earth. So the moonlight shows us things that may be coming out of the shadows that we may not be aware of. But what this card suggests, as we prepare, as we breathe, as we drink water, call in our team, expect the unexpected. Expect fairy magic. Expect clarity. And a new journey as that owl or eagle, I'm not, I'll have to look that up, is flying. Yeah. Setting up the altar, commitment. Ay, ay, ay. How many times have I like thrown cards and not really set things up? Too many times. What's the commitment to the process of setting your altar to receive the best information from the highest source? To receive it in a way that you can hear it, that makes sense to you. It does take a commitment. It takes a commitment also to be in this space. I mean, you just can't go buy a deck of cards and throw a couple of cards and go, I got it. Because every time you do it, it evolves. It's different. You get stronger with it. And in this commitment, there's a helping hand. So a lot of times, especially in this community, we get to draw on each other's strengths. And how do we receive the message? Oh, intention. Huh. You would think that would be the very first thing that you would get, that you would want before you did a reading. You would have an intention. I need to be clear on such and such an issue. But this is saying that what you get from the chief when you come out of that teepee may not be an answer, but it may be seeds. Certainly, you have the owl giving you wisdom. You have an egg that is not yet hatched, and you have the dandelion seeds, the flower, that when you blow on it and make a wish, like I did so many times when I was a kid, you blow on it and you make a wish, and your seeds get scattered in the wind. Wow, powerful. So the message you get may be just seeds scattered in the wind. Let it go. Different intention, clearly. Wow. Going to the next row with Beyond Lemuria. How do you start? I'm gonna go get a reading. I'm gonna go talk to the chief. Oh, don't forget. Bring your unique gifts. And your unique gifts is your heart space. Unique gifts. Don't forget who we are in this process, what we bring to the table. I would imagine that the conversation that I would have with the chief in his teepee would be a lot different if he was just talking by himself. But because of my energy coming in there, then the conversation's going to be different. The energy's different. Here's something that I just thought of. Would I bring down the energy, or would I bring up the energy? Now, that kind of makes my head spin a little bit. Because if this is the chief, who am I to think that I bring up the energy in the teepee? Well, I have my unique gifts. They're unique to me. He doesn't have those. I can share some of those unique gifts with him as he shares his wisdom, his knowledge, his advancement with me as much as I can hear it. Ooh. All right. Why does that make me a little uncomfortable? Okay. And let's go to, so that's breathing, drinking water, getting ready to go get a reading, to speak to the chief, to speak to the higher authority, to set the intentions, the intentions up for a big ceremony or a little ceremony. Psychic Duck was just saying, don't make it so important that you forget your unique gifts. Thank you, Psychic Duck. And then he laughed. All right, new blueprints. Setting the altar, new blueprints. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about, bringing your unique gifts into the teepee. When I set this altar up for today, it's different than the previous setups I had. The camera's different. This whole setup is different. It adds a different energy to it. It's surrounded by different energies. Sometimes we can put things on the altar and we don't even know why we're doing it. Other times we'll set it down, like when I set Psychic Duck down, I go, really? You're grabbing Psychic Duck? And he goes, yeah. She said, he said, she said. And then it made sense to me. Keep it light. Keep it fun. Because we're playing on this web of creation. And if we get all serious and heavy and, well, then the web is going to droop. We need to keep it light. And the last card, how do we hear the message? It's easy for you to say. Surrender. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So often we want to hold on to what our idea of our truth is. And we don't go into the TP, into the council, with an opened mind. We have an image of how we want this conversation to go, what message we want to receive. We want it to be positive and rosy and whatever, you know. Did I win the lottery? But really, it's the moonlight that we're going in for. We're going in with moonlight and we're surrendering to what comes out. Oof. Moonlight, commitment, intention, unique gifts, new blueprints, surrender, and war bonnet. How are you earning, and not you, how are we earning our feathers? What are we doing to set our altar of spiritual work so that we can walk the path? All right. Just a little question. Psychic Duck goes, man, you made that web droop. Psychic Duck, what he wants to know if he can get ice cream. And you know what? It's the birthday party for the universe. So Psychic Duck, you can go get ice cream. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday with Spirit. Peace and love.